This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geek, show number 381, recorded on December 6th, 2018. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.TV studio in a Christmassy white, Mike, 8 inches of snow or so on Sunday. It's Christmas, right? We made it.
Well, it's weird for Omaha because usually we go through this thing of we get snow, but then the temperatures are higher the few days, and it goes away within a few days. But our temperatures have stayed, in the high 20s to mid 20s for the rest of the week. So yeah, the snow is stuck around. It's been kind of nice. I kind of like the look of snow everywhere. It hasn't turned into that melted slush yet that just makes it awful. So it's
dirty,
nice.
Dirty and awful. We got like all that snow, and it was wet, heavy snow. And it was kind of dirty. I'll be honest. It wasn't the greatest. And then we got this inch of white, really puffy stuff on top later in the evening, and it was just beautiful. And so it's it'll be around for a while. But of course, we love it here in Nebraska. I'll be honest. Not everybody loves it, but we do enjoy it. And of course, we post a show with world-class show notes. If you want to head out there, there'll be a bunch for this show out at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget, you can also join us on our mobile app. You can join us live. Probably the best way to join us live. I don't know, 8, 9, 10 of you do every single week, which is crazy. I get those stats afterwards. I'm like, who the heck is listening on Spreaker? Many of you do, and 10's a pretty good number when we think we don't really advertise that much. HomeGadgetGeeks.com, just put it on your phone. That way you're on the road and you want to listen on a Thursday night. Best way to really listen streaming. That's what it's really best at. HomeGadgetGeeks.com. Of course, we thank our Patreon subscribers. If you want to become one of those, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon will get you there. And we're not on Twitch tonight. We've been doing that, but we are not on Twitch tonight. Mike's going to figure out some more efficient ways to get that done. And so we'll be back with that as well. We this week, we got a bunch of interesting stories for you. I want to start right off with kind of some listener feedback. By the way, if you send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, good chances I'll read it. I can't read them all, but I do read most of them. And this week, I got an email from Anthony. Not Tony. Tony's normally in the chat room. I think a different Anthony. He's in Sydney, Australia, and he sent me this letter. He said this. He said, "Jim, been enjoying your show over the last year, but have never contributed to the conversation. Time for that to change after listening to the last few episodes." Good. So, Anthony, we appreciate you writing in. I generally listen to them in the car when I do a trip out town by myself. Very rarely do I manage to catch the live, as it occurs during the middle of the Friday working day here in Australia. By the way, we used to have, before Mike, I had a co-host that was in Melbourne, and he used to take his lunch hour. We would time this thing, and he would take his lunch hour to join us live. So if you're thinking in that time zone, it kind of lines up. It's usually around lunch. Just sneak away. just, oh, there he is. Oh, so that is that, Anthony. Anthony, welcome. Thanks for joining us live. He's out there. See, he made it. See, I told you. Just sneak in on lunch. And you're doing it the right way. So congratulations, Australians. Get in here over your lunch break. Anyways, he says, the reason for my email, I heard your discussion on Christmas lights and 3D printing over the past few episodes and thought I would share what I've done at my house. This project started last Christmas, and my wife suggested she would love for me to do this on our house. And then he says, bonus, wife acceptance factor before I even started. Dude, that's pretty sweet, right? When you get that permission. I kind of want to show you when we're talking about Christmas lights. Hold on. Let me just show these to you here. You're going to want to take a look at this.
These are fantastic.
I can't play the music. Let me, because of copyright issues, we'll get taken down pretty quickly on YouTube. But I'm going to show this full screen and I'll talk over it just for those who, but imagine The Greatest Showman. That's what's playing right now, kind of behind this. And there's all these little, this is pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie. What do you think? Would you put this on the front of your house?
Oh, totally. If I could get my lights to be that straight and perfect, I need to figure out what he did there to make. I mean, they look like almost like perfect grids of lights. It's super cool. And I've always wondered how people do this. And he goes into a little bit of detail, which is really cool.
Yeah, we'll take the link to the YouTube video. He has 2 that he's done, 2 different songs. Those will be in the show notes. So you want to head out to theaverageguy.tv/HGG381 for this episode as we get it posted. Those link to the YouTube videos will be out there. Let me, while I'm doing it, let me just, for everybody who's in the chat room, let me just throw those in there so you guys know. You guys can take a peek at them a little bit later if you want to do that. They are out there. Pretty impressive, well-timed. So he says the digital controlled LEDs lights synchronized to music for Christmas. It also involved a 3D printing bracket. It also involved 3D printing brackets and mounts for display. 280 brackets in total. The printer got a workout. Yeah, I'd say so. I just couldn't find anything that would work for me, so I designed and printed what I wanted. Awesome, Anthony. Good work on that as well. Then he says, I use open source software platform called xLights to program and sequence the lights. It's been a huge learning experience, from building display items, learning how to sequence the LEDs, to the songs, learning DMX and E1.31 universities/channels, etc. I have the show automated as much as possible. I use a Z-Wave switch to power up the display just before 8 p.m. and then it's scheduling software runs the show till 10:30. I'm sure your neighbors appreciate that. The Z-Wave switch then turns everything off and waits until the following night. The shows will run every night until December 30th. I'd go by it. If I lived there, I'd go by and see this like in a second. This is super cool. I have a web page, a remote on the phone to be able to adjust things on the fly if I want to. A webcam is set up to see what's going on remotely from the lounge. He gives me the links. There's a couple links out there. Those will be in the show notes. He says the Greatest Showman sequence is an interesting one. The sequence is done by some clever guys with the xLights community, then made it available to everyone to map to their own house, right? Because everybody's going to have a little bit of a different setup. So he says everyone's show will be similar, but different because the house is set up differently. The idea is that they will collect video from people all around the world running this sequence and then edit it. And here, I'll flip back to me because that video is now over. And then they'll all adjust it. They'll all adjust that video for their own usage, right? And so kind of based on the lights that they have and what they're working with. The idea was that they'll collect video from people all around the world running this sequence, and then they'll edit their own and put it on YouTube as xLights Around the World 2018. Kind of cool, right? You get to see the work done, but everybody's different take on it. He says, I hope you enjoy the video. Keep up the great work you do on the show, and say good day to Mike. So Mike, good day.
Good day.
That's my best Australian. And he says, of course, I have permissions to use the link. So Anthony,
I have so many questions.
Yeah. Well, he's in the chat room. So
I know. So what I was wondering is, and I don't think he mentioned it. So he talked about a lot of software he used, but like what hardware are you using? Like, what do you plug these things into a certain, using a Raspberry Pi? Like, what is the brains behind all the lights? So I kind of want to know what controls them and how that all works. Maybe there's a whole system you can buy for this. I have no idea, because I've seen these and it's one of those kind of like I've never known the secret sauce. So it's so magical to me when I see these lights and they're all timed to music. And Anthony, I don't know if around you this is popular, but here they have it on the radio. And so you turn to a specific radio station when you get close. There must be like a broadcaster in the house or something like that sends out a very short wave radio. So you tune to the radio station, and obviously you can listen to music while it plays, which is kind of cool. Which I'm thinking you said you actually had in there. But yeah. So Falcon he says F16 V3 controller. Okay, so there's controllers specifically built for this type of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, they're all individual pixels, the RGB leads. Let's see. Each LED is addressable. And then you mentioned the Falcon F16 V3 controller.
I'm also curious, like what kind of investment you have to make, like, dollars wise, to kind of get into something like this, like the controller, the lights. Are we talking a few grand for this? Or has it come down in price now that maybe the hardware is getting a little bit cheaper? It's interesting to me. I'll have to look up that controller and see.
I wish we could hear the music again. I can't play it just because we'll get blocked there, but. I love this. This is The Greatest Showman. The other one I was showing was a Christmas song earlier. You couldn't hear it, of course, but this is, and every time if you've listened to The Greatest Showman soundtrack, every time Hugh Jackman comes in and singing part, that guy that you saw on the screen there a second ago shows up with his mouth moving. I mean, I was like, holy
that's
cow.
Super cool.
That is just super cool. And then the trees over to the left they all have singing voices, and it can make those go up and down. They've got some really cool different phase lights that come in, and I mean, it's pretty awesome. I was pretty geeked out, Mike. Not gonna
No
lie.
kidding. Yeah, no, I was too when I saw this because, like I said, it's something I've always want to know how that works, and I've never done it.
About 2,000 for everything is what he says. So
Okay.
maybe a little cheaper here in the U.S. It's 2,000
Yeah.
Australian, right? So maybe 1,500 here in the U.S. to get that done. Anthony, how long did it take you to pull all this together? If I were to budget or allocate some hours to think of to learn all this and put something like this together, what would you say? He said the singing trees are the hardest to program. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, you got probably a couple different mouth movements that you have with them, circles, round circles, smiles, some of that. Pretty incredible. We had talked about, or Mike, I had talked about buying some Christmas lights to put on the deck. I think that's kind of what started it. We went back and listened to that conversation, and I'd been talking about maybe putting some hue strip lighting in. And I thought, I could probably just do Christmas lights. Well, I think I'm going to wait till after Christmas because it's super easy, right? 90% off in some cases to pick up some Christmas lights.
Yep.
So I think I'm going to wait till theirs over. I probably won't do this, but like this, but I will string some Christmas lights on the deck. He says all year. I asked him how long, all year part-time, maybe 80 to 100 hours. So that's kind of a commitment, I would think. Don't you think?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. Well,
Anthony,
Anthony,
your hobby for the entire year. Anytime you have free time at night, going down and tinkering. That's kind of the hard part too. Is with these things, they're not up on your house year round. So you're programming these things. You're spending all year. You got to figure out some way to like lay these out in a basement, or find some way to think about how they're going to be laid out. I bet that's pretty challenging when you can't go out and just visually see what you're doing as you're coding it.
And you probably get some help from the program of it already being kind of mapped out, somebody kind of mapping out the choreography of it. But you still got to figure out, and you got to hang these things. I don't like going out of my house and hanging these things. Not interested at all. Like, I'm just going to sit here and watch this thing.
Yeah.
Like, right. It has become my permanent, my Christmas lights display is Anthony's Christmas lights playing on a big monitor, right? That's what so Anthony, thank you for, and Anthony, appreciate you emailing in and sending us that. Super, super cool. I'll tell anybody else, send, if you got stuff like this and you want us to talk about it, send it to me in an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. We'll do a little bit of work on it, bring it on the show. Pretty amazing stuff. And Anthony, congratulations. Mike, you had said last week you still haven't hung up any lights. You getting after watching this? You getting any closer?
I want to. Yeah. With the roof now has snow on it, so getting up on the roof and hanging those lights is getting the ladder out. There's a lot of ice out. I think I missed my chance this year. To Hannah's dismay, do not show her that video, please, because I will be on the hook to do that next year. And but no, I do want to get out there, and Hannah is all about Christmas decoration. So the inside of the house is gorgeous, fully decorated. The outside, my domain, nothing.
Not so much.
I should really get out there and do something.
Hey, we could totally hang some lights in your underneath that shed or that porch area of yours.
Yeah, I think that would look really cool.
We could get that thing Christmassy. Speaking of that, the heater came. Talked last week. I bought one of those deck heaters. Still in the box. I just haven't. It's been cold outside. Yeah, I just haven't. I'll do it this weekend.
That's what it's there for, right?
Well, I know.
I'll be very interested to see, with these temperatures we have right now, if it makes it warm enough you can sit out on your patio, on your back deck, and hang out there. Well, I bet it will.
I do have an extra propane bottle, which is helpful because those are $50.
The first time
you buy them, $48, $50. So I'll assemble it sometime this weekend. This is really the right weekend to do it. I'm gonna have some time on my hands, and we'll get that on the deck. We're expecting 0 this week. So tomorrow, Friday, I think highs or the lows and the evening lows will be 0. So that's probably a little too much to overcome. I'll just be honest. But over the weekend, that gets back into the 20s, and that would be kind of reasonable. I'm gonna have to do some cigar testing, Mike. You might want to think about coming over here and just, I
was going to say,
testing it with me.
Open invite? Sounds
no, totally. Yeah, totally. We'll have to see what you're doing this weekend. And we had mentioned the poker thing before. Although if I brought you to the poker party, they may think I'm bringing a ringer. So they were pretty pissed how much money I took from them the last time we did this.
Yeah,
And,
I'm definitely not a ringer, so I can assure them of that.
Well, Texas Hold'em was pretty fun. So, Mike, you had put in the show notes for tonight, there are legitimate Tesla killers out there. Are there? I mean, when we think about vehicles, I mean, all we hear is about Tesla,
Right.
Tesla this and Tesla that. Is there somebody else doing this?
Well, so that's the interesting thing. When you think about what could be deemed a Tesla killer, you think of all the other major car brands, right? And they're probably going to start going to fully electric cars, and they've already started the development on those. And so I'm not really talking about, Ford or Toyota or any of them doing fully electric. I'm talking about, are there any other companies that we haven't heard of before that are creating products that are actually worth, thinking about and thinking, because Tesla's just so far ahead of the game. The great part about Tesla is so long ago, they kind of open sourced their battery technology so that, could kind of kickstart the entire industry into, using this battery tech, right? Get the electronic vehicles out there. It's the future, and they saw. So we've seen a few that have actually surfaced. And what caught my eye was MKBHD on YouTube. He's a big tech guy. He actually was started to talk about one that's coming out here in about 2 years. So, and what's interesting about this one is it's going to be one of the first pickup trucks that's fully electric. Tesla has talked about plans to possibly do a pickup truck, but they have a lot on their plate right now. They're doing a semi, so they've already announced their semi. They've talked about their new models that are coming out, but nothing in a standard pickup form. So there is a new kind of startup company that's starting up, and their new truck is, I believe it's pronounced Rivian, so Rivian. So if you go to products.rivian.com, you guys can check this thing out. This thing is a fully electric pickup truck. What's interesting about this thing, though, is actually, you think of a pickup truck, and when I'm a truck guy. I have truck envy. I don't have one yet, but it's like I need a truck. I spend a lot of time around trucks. A lot of my friends have trucks, so it's kind of a big thing. And when you think of an electric car, you think, okay, is it going to have the power? The thing we've seen from Tesla is that those cars have faster acceleration than some of the best supercars in the world. I mean, I'm talking insane acceleration on these cars. So we've seen that they have speed, but when it comes to a truck, you need towing, you need payload, you need all these sort of things to actually make it a truck. The specs on this thing are insane. So first of all, we'll just talk about acceleration, which we know electric cars should not have a problem with, but 0 to 60 in 3 seconds in your pickup truck, which is just absurd. I dare someone to get their Chevy 1500 up to 0 and 60 in 3 seconds. Just not going to happen. So great acceleration. But then you start to get down into payload and towing. So I'm bad at my conversions, but 800 kilograms payload, which is about 1,700 pounds for a payload. So you can haul 1,700 pounds. And towing, which is 5,000 kilograms, which I believe is roughly 11,000 pounds. I think I did my calculations earlier. So we're talking a towing capacity that is better than the standard entry-level Chevy 1500, and a payload that is about the same, maybe a little bit less. So towing-wise, you're going to be able to tow more than an entry 1500. And payload, you get about the same from a fully electric car, not to mention a range of up to 400 miles. And with that acceleration we talked about. So if you guys go out, though, the one thing I don't like is the design looks pretty stupid. I mean, you look like you're gonna be the nerd guy with the truck, right? You're not pulling
it's
up
the nerd's truck.
Yeah. You're not pulling up and revving obviously you can't rev your engine, not gonna make any noise, but you're not pulling up to the 1500 and he's thinking you're super cool. It does look a little nerdy. The front headlight, so it's got this full all-day LED. It runs all the way across the front. It's got 2 main headlights, but it's also got this LED bar. When you're charging it, that's actually a charging indicator, so it turns green and red, as it starts to charge. The actual features of the truck, though, are super cool. So the inside, when you start to look at the inside of this truck, very Tesla-esque. So you've got this huge touchscreen monitor. Still has a steering wheel, which, Tesla's trying to go away from the steering wheel, but still has a steering wheel. Looks like a very luxury high-end truck, which, most people would say, well, it's a truck. It's not supposed to be that way. Go look at all the Chevys and Fords nowadays. They all are very luxury style trucks. You're talking leather interior, real nice runners. Everything in there is kind of luxury. So it's kind of the new trend anyway. So it doesn't surprise me. But the other features this thing has, because it's electric, all your motor, you don't have that big space taken up for the motor. So your entire front end is a trunk. So you have a trunk space in the front, enclosed. So that's a big deal because most truck people complain, you either got to get a cover for your bed. You don't have any enclosed storage. So you got a whole trunk in the front. They have this thing called a gear tunnel, which is right in front of the rear wheel well. and it goes all the way from one side to the other side of the car. So if you open both doors in this little tunnel, it's almost like it's a full tunnel all the way through the car. So think about putting a surfboard or skis or something through there and being able to close it, having it indoors. The rear bed, your back end completely goes all the way to the ground. So which can help for loading stuff up. You don't have the bed that it doesn't have to just stay flat with the bed. It actually can go all the way down. You got 3 power outlets in the back along with some lights. The actual features of this thing are really, really cool. So price wise, it's coming in at about $70,000. It's going to come out in 2 years. So guys, if you want to pre-order this thing, you can pre-order now. I think pre-order was about $2,000 and
a grand. No, just a grand to pre-order
on the Rivian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So a grand to pre-order. And then I think was 70 the right amount?
61.
61 starting.
61 starting.
Okay, so
yeah,
priced very competitively. If you are looking at a 1500, I mean 1500 you can get in for cheaper, but depending on, if you're going to get the level of features you're getting in this truck, and as far as outlets and entertainment system, if you're going the equivalent, I say Chevy because I'm a Chevy guy, but you can do Ford F-150 too. If you bought that equivalent, you're going to be paying right around that price. So in 2 years, we're going to have maybe, these companies, you always got to see if the production's actually going to go well, if they're going to get these trucks out, what's going to happen. But hypothetically, in 2 years, you could have a fully electric truck at the same price point that has better towing, around the same payload, and the acceleration. You could kill any other car off the line. You could pull this thing up and smoke a Corvette off the line. How cool would that be? Like, pull up in this fully electric pickup truck, look over at the guy next to you. He can even drive in a Lambo. You're going to kill him. It's kind of cool. So yeah. I don't know. I think this just got me excited because it was the first time I've seen one of these that I've actually think is going to maybe actually come out on time. It's a new thing that Tesla has not done yet with the pickup truck. So they're not just going for the car, they're going for the full truck. I just think it's a very interesting model. So it's exciting to me to see someone that's actually taking this Tesla technology, making improvements on it, and we could see more cars in this space, because that's what we want, right? We don't want Tesla to be the best end all be all in electric, and they won't be. Competitors will come in, but I'm glad to see it this early on that coming in. Youch, Tajowski says that is ugly. Yeah, that's what I said before. The look of it is not great. I think they really could have. I think honestly, that's what's going to hold a lot of people from purchasing this is the look of it. If you're a truck person, you usually are pretty opinionated on how your truck looks, and this thing doesn't look very good. And also too, it's a real short bed to crew cab, but
most people don't use it. Most people aren't using their trucks like a truck anymore. You're not. I think
so.
see a lot of
buying a truck. But you might not always have something in the bed. But think about when I go to pick up a mattress or a bed from Nebraska Furniture Mart, I want to be able to actually use as a truck. I don't think a short bed does anyone any good.
I agree with that. But
short bed's good for hunting. I do. If you're only throwing dead deer in the back in the field, it doesn't matter what your bed size is.
You have 4 really comfortable seats in there, or 5 in the.
Yeah.
This thing is pretty wide, so this would be easy to put 5 in this thing. So, well, I think the exciting thing isn't they're not going to sell very many of these, just relatively, right? But it's started, right? We need a few of these competitors to be successful.
Exactly.
We need now. Elon has quite a bit of own competition against himself, so I never worry about Elon making things to make money. Like he is really trying to change everything with what he's doing. He's going to make money in the process. It's going to happen, but innovation is always best when you have some competition. So it'll be good to see some additional car manufacturers, including I would expect Honda and Toyota and Nissan to all be in this game here pretty quick.
I think so too.
Yeah. We know GM's struggling, so that's with the announcements this week of what's going on and them closing the plants, GM is kind of. Go ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna say the hard part is, are people really into the fully electric, or are people into Tesla? I think that's the struggle right now with a lot of these companies who are coming out with fully electric cars is if I'm going to go fully electric, right now, you could have the same exact car, one with a Honda, Toyota, any other brand on it, and one with a Tesla sticker on it. I think most people are going Tesla because it's Tesla right now. So I think we're kind of enamored by the company and the idea of it. I don't think people are buying it for the fully electric features. Honestly, in most situations, the fully electric is kind of a downside, to be honest, especially if you don't live on the coast where these charging stations are plentiful. Around here, Jim, you and I couldn't drive to St. Louis we couldn't drive to Minneapolis because between here and there's 0 charging stations for electric cars. So we would, we might be able to find one, but it's not going to be easy to make those long road trips here in the Midwest. And Crazy has a good point. He talked to what MKB said in his video was the hard part about these other companies coming in too is charging. Exactly what we were talking about, but the fact that they might have a proprietary charging port that's not the same as Tesla. So this huge charging network that Tesla's built out wouldn't be compatible with your car. So that's kind of the interesting how this is
that would be dumb.
What kind of adapters they're going to need and things like that. But
that would be super dumb if that was the case. We say that, and then yet I am in.
Did you find some? Maybe I just don't see them when I'm driving on.
Hold on, let's look. I'm at Tesla.com/ here. I'll throw this in the chat room. Tesla.com/destination-charging. We'll add that to the show notes as well, just so we've got updated stuff for you here. If you're not checking out the show notes, you absolutely should. Let's see if there's, when we think about this Tesla charging stations, I think I need to, let's drill in a little bit. We talked a little bit about this, but while it's drilling in for me, Mike, I was in Maryville, Missouri. Okay. So I was taking Sammy to school, and we had stopped to get some food for her. And there were some charging stations. Now, they're not the Tesla ones, but there were some charging stations in the parking lot of Walmart. And I was kind of like, well, that's weird. But Maryville, Missouri, which is not very big.
Yeah, I've been seeing them in the weirdest places. I've noticed a lot of companies actually putting them in their garages. So most companies now, if you have a company garage connected, I know this isn't a big thing in highly populated areas, but here in Omaha, its space is plentiful. So we all have like parking garages and stuff like that. A lot of times there are charging stations in those parking lots. The charging port was a really good point I had actually never thought of before. So Mike, I actually don't know if all the current electric vehicles all have the same port. Maybe they do. I don't know if they all have the same.
I don't either. I should know. We should ask Dwayne that when we had him on. I see. So I don't know. This is why you don't do these things live. It's got charging station locations, but it says destination charging locations. So I'm just looking here. I don't see those stations. We don't know, Mike. So I'm going to stop guessing on these things. But I think let's go back to your original point. I think it's interesting. We have other competitors coming out alongside Tesla, and I think that's good. I think that's good for the industry, and I think that's good for where we're going. The real question is the battery technology there? And batteries are not necessarily, sorry, Brian, but Brian's in this business. Batteries are not necessarily the cleanest things on the planet, right? There's some questions about
it's got to be cleaner than emissions. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know. I guess it depends how they get recycled.
It would be.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
It depends on how they get recycled. I think the future is finally here for electrical vehicles. But to your point earlier, yes, Tesla has the lead, right? They're the Ford. It's 1920. Tesla is Ford 1920. They're out ahead of everybody else. They're going to be dominant for many, many years to come. Speaking of Tesla, did you see their Gigafactory? Have you followed this at all, what they're building in Nevada?
No, I haven't.
So if you're listening to this and you're in a spot where you can, or when you stop and do this, just Google Gigafactory 1 or Gigafactory. It doesn't matter. And Tesla has built a gigantic, absolutely gigantic. It's big and it's getting bigger factory where eventually everything is going to be manufactured from this factory. So they partnered with Panasonic. I hope that's the right one. They partnered with Panasonic. Let me double check on that. And Panasonic actually builds the batteries for them today. Eventually they'll build it, but they have spent somewhere in the this Gigafactory, when it's done, its estimated cost is going to be $5 billion.
Oh my gosh!
And this Gigafactory is so big it can fit like 37 football fields in it. Yeah, it's something like that. It's absolutely.
I think it only fit in Nevada.
Yeah. It held its grand opening on July 29th, 2016. they have only built a certain number of the blocks that are associated with it. They're building this in kind of blocks as they go down, and they go back up and build it as they go. I think it's only a third built, and they still have 2/3 to go. But if they can turn this thing around, I mean, not turn it around, if they can, this thing's going to work. If all this stuff for him is going to work, and for Tesla, it's pretty incredible. And I just watched a video on YouTube about it the other night. It just kind of popped up in my recommendations of this gigafactory, and I was like, holy cow, this thing is gigantic.
Well, and that's what most of the complaints, and we heard the story from Dwayne on the ordering process and kind of the pain. But Jim, I wonder, we talk about how production's low, they're hard to get. Is that driving up kind of the need, right? Like scarcity kind of sometimes is good for sales. Because now when I see a Tesla on the road, I'm like, oh man, that's hard to get. That's really rare, and I think it's really cool. But if they start showing up more and more, maybe you kind of lose that Tesla-esque vibe where everyone just really envies and loves the Tesla. When they start becoming lots everywhere in your sound where you can go and look at 100 different Teslas, maybe it loses its luster a little bit. So I'm not sure. Maybe the scarcity model is on purpose, or maybe not on purpose, but they're okay with it. Like right now, there's legitimate reasons for scarcity, right? Production's down, but maybe they're benefiting a little bit from that scarcity, and they're not in too much of a rush to make this a mainstream, there's a Tesla lot in every town kind of thing.
Well, what's amazing to me, this gigafactory in Nevada builds all the parts, not all of them, many of the parts for the car. Then they're shipped to Fremont, California, which is
the full car's not assembled there.
Not yet. The cars are still assembled in Fremont, which is a stone's throw from where I grew up. It's in the Bay Area. Labor is super expensive there. Like, you kind of think, why aren't we building these things someplace else? He's building them in Fremont, California, which is really crazy. Gigafactory 1 in Nevada is aligned true north, which is done so that the equipment can be mapped by GPS, and solar panels on the roof can be accurately aligned. Also, the factory has been designed to be entirely energy self-reliant. Tesla intends to power the structure through a combination of on-site solar, wind, and geothermal sources. The building will have the largest footprint in the world and the second largest volume when completed.
And probably the smallest footprint, like electrical-wise, right?
Yeah, you would think.
If they're really self-sufficient,
with pull it off.
Wow.
Yeah, Tesla also has a Gigafactory 2 in Buffalo, has leased land for Gigafactory 3 in Shanghai, China, and plans to build another Gigafactory in Europe. So there you go. Yeah, I hadn't been following this Gigafactory stuff, and pretty cool. They, if you look at the pictures today, a quarter of one of part, and they've only built a quarter of the building so far in this Gigafactory. Imagine the entire roof filled with solar panels, right? And then wind in Nevada. And think about it, it never rains there. They're in the middle of the desert, right? So pretty interesting. I hadn't planned to talk about that tonight, but when you brought up this what's it called?
Rivian.
Rivian?
Yeah.
I thought, well, that would be pretty cool. All right. Well,
they also have an SUV. So I guess Rivian is the brand, and the SUV looks pretty sweet. It kind of looks like a Range Rover, to be honest. So if you go to again to products.rivian.com, there's a truck tab and an SUV tab. Let's actually take a look at this real quick. So same sort of thing. I think
I'll bring it up on screen here.
Pretty much the same internals it looks like, because 400 plus mile range. You got your quad motor system, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. I think that's a really good looking car, to be honest. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool.
I bet it's the same chassis.
Yep.
With just some minor modifications.
Looks like it is. It honestly, Jim, it looks like they just capped off the bed. Like that could be the truck with just a capped off bed and some seats in the back.
Now I'd do this car. I wouldn't do the truck, but I would do the SUV.
And so the benefits, it looks like same sort of thing. You got that whole front trunk. So you got a lot of storage space in this thing. I wonder if it has a third row. How many is it? It does. So you got 3 rows. So you're talking 7 seats for this SUV.
Trunk.
Yeah, that front trunk would be awesome.
Like an old Fiat.
Yeah. But then not having to sacrifice space in the back either.
Yeah. Cool. Starting price of $65 after federal tax rebate. Okay. Range of 260 to 440 miles.
And actually, it's kind of funny. Same payload. And is it the same towing capacity? What was the last one? This one's 3,500. The same? I think that might be the same.
Yeah, 3,500. Yeah. Like I'd said, it's probably just the body version is different, right? There's a few parts in the back that are different.
Yeah, towing capacity on the truck was actually 5,000 kilograms.
Okay.
So,
I got you.
not
yeah,
a quarter better. Very interesting though. Actually, I had not clicked on the SUV. I didn't even know they had the SUV option. That's a good looking car. I like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, do you think it looks? I mean, it looks like a Range Rover.
It kind of does. No, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right. It kind of does look like a Range Rover. Yeah, it's interesting. Just this is their first run at it, and they're gonna have some problems. I wonder where it's being manufactured.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know the details.
Let's see if we get click on the technology tab here and see if we get some idea. Well, boy, their website's pretty fancy.
Yeah, it is.
No, just give me the info.
I know. Wants to load it. It's loading a video right now.
No, it's telling me all the technology tab is pretty interesting. It's telling me all the technology that goes into it.
So they're in Irvine, California.
Another really expensive place.
Yeah.
It must be, the manufacturing process must be more complicated, and so it's gonna, I don't know, or they're doing it close to their engineering facilities or something like that. So it's been interesting. I've been watching, Tesla announced all these solar panels for your roof, and they're basically shingles, right? You just replace your shingles with them, right? And they've only been, so far, there's been a bunch of orders, and they've only been installed in just a few places because of getting the product out of the factory, getting it to the manufacturer. It has to be installed in a special way. They're only doing it in certain areas because some of this stuff really needs to be tested out, for longevity. How long will it last? You're going to make a big investment for the roof. Is that something that will last 30 years or 20 years? Or, are we going to see degradation in the solar over time? So 15 years from now, they're worthless. They don't even work,
Well, then the battery in your home, right? You get that big power bank to actually store that energy to make it useful so you can use it during, non-sunlight hours and hours where it's cloudy. Is that battery going to last? We know batteries go down. So if you're using this thing all day, every day, it's powering your home. What kind of life do these batteries have?
Yeah. Well, questions that need to be answered, Mike. It's
certainly here in Nebraska. We have the best weather elements to test it. We'll give you all of them: hail, snow, rain. We got it all. High winds, ice. We don't have salty water, right? We don't get that sea salt water. So
that's true. But we have salty roads.
Yeah,
we have salty roads.
We'll just throw some up there every once in a while and test it.
And some salty people too. That's true. Some salty people.
Nebraska, it's not for everyone, Jim.
Who came up with that?
I don't know. Do you know what the worst part is? Someone got paid a ton of money to come up with Nebraska's new slogan. For those of you who don't know, that is Nebraska's new legitimate state slogan is Nebraska. It's not for everyone. But you know what? We're actually getting a lot of credit online. If you go read the articles, like, you know what? Nebraska is the most honest people. Like, they just know, because it's a true statement. Like, they just, being very self-aware is a virtue. And Nebraska people are very self-aware.
So true.
So it's kind of true. Funny. Yeah.
Nebraska, it's not for everyone. We'll have to, hold on. Let's get a link to that for the show notes, because we're not making this stuff up, guys.
It's real life.
When that first came out on Facebook, I thought, okay, this has got to be an Onion article or, one of those kinds of things.
I thought the same thing.
So here's Nebraska changes state slogan to honestly, it's not for everyone. And then Nebraska, it's not for everyone. NPR, honest. And then honestly, it's not for everyone. That came out of Forbes. So
I forgot there's an honestly in front of it. You're right. Honestly, it's not for
everyone. It's not for everyone. So, and honestly, it's not
that's what I mean. It's a very true slogan,
but it's for us, and we are here, and we like it here. Mike, let's switch a little bit. You got a quick tip for buying games for kids this holiday season? What do we need to do if we're gonna do it? What's the best way to do it?
Yeah, this was just one quick tip I had. It actually got me thinking because I was seeing all the deals on Amazon on these games over the holiday season. And first of all, if I give you this quick tip and you've already purchased something for your kids, don't feel bad. This is not a must. This is just a suggestion for when you buy games. I have one right here. Try not to buy the physical disc for them. So with Xbox, everything can be purchased and this is all of them: PS4, Xbox, all the game systems, Nintendo Switch. You can buy it through the actual online store, and it's just much easier to manage the game if you don't have to put in the disc every time. So now that all the games are stored digitally, because even if you buy the disc, you put in this disc, it downloads the entire thing to the hard drive. So you're not saving hard drive space. And then every time you want to switch games, you got to go get up and actually swap out the disc. And everything now is digital. And it does just make it a lot easier too if you don't have to keep all these discs around. So it saves space. A lot of times we used to back, before that was available back in my day, you just had a collection of, you had a drawer of all your games and stuff like that. So it saves space, number one. Number two, super convenient to be able to switch back and forth. And then number three, if I'm at a buddy's house, I don't have to bring my game crate. I can literally just log into my account on his Xbox and download the game, and we can enjoy the game at a friend's house. Or I can take the hard drive. I can store all these on an external hard drive, grab my external hard drive, go over to Jim's house, plug it into his Xbox, and as long as I'm signed in over there, we can play it. So kids really appreciate the digital version. They'll appreciate any version of the game, honestly, but they also sell, if you still want to get them something like to unwrap or a card, they sell at Walmart. You'll see these at Hy-Vee. You can actually get the game, and it looks like a gift card, but it's the game. So it's like NBA 2K19, but it's a little card and it's got a code on the back. They can go plug that into the Microsoft store on their Xbox, and then it'll give them the digital version. So you still have options. You can also get them a Microsoft store or a PlayStation store gift card that way. I just think it's one thing that, a lot of parents and people who don't own consoles, they don't know that about buying the physical discs. It's a lot harder to use the disc than it is just to get the digital game. Quick tip for you.
Super good. I still haven't bought that Xbox. I have a lot of things on my list. I'm having trouble pulling the trigger, Mike. I do. I have a lot of things. I want that Roomba. You've been telling me a lot
of them. I'm waiting for you to. Yeah, the Roomba you've been talking about.
Listen, if you're gonna know me, you're gonna know. Like I want things. I go to buy. Sarah hates this. I go to buy them. I get there and I'm like, nah, I don't really need it. And then I chicken out. And I'm like, nah, because I'm kind of a cheapskate. So then
That's a better problem than I have, because when I want something, I go and I get it, and then I get here, I'm like, I don't know if I really need it, but I don't return it because I've already opened it and played with it because I can't wait. It shows up on the door and it's open within 10 seconds and set up. So at least you have restraint, Jim. I don't have that.
I'm old. It keeps me in a lot of trouble, and I made some really bad purchases, So I think about those purchases when I bought them. So I don't know. I thought I might maybe wait till the end of the season and just kind of see what comes up. And then by the time I wait, then a new thing comes out. It's like I've been looking at Roombas for a while. And then they come out with this new Roomba 7i where it's, it unloads itself into the, it's a vacuum within a vacuum, And I'm like, oh, it's $950. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I need to spend $1,000 on a robot vacuum. But the 690s, there we go. The Roomba 690s, I think they're just trying to get rid of inventory. And Black Friday, you could get it for $250. I've seen it regular price now at Lowe's for $279. I was kind of like, it'd be pretty nice down here in the basement if I just had a robot doing its thing during the day.
Does that version have the room mapping technology where it starts filling your room?
No, it's the lower end version. It just vacuums. It goes out, it does its thing, it gets.
But for some rooms like your basement, you might not need it. Right? You don't care if it perfectly maps out your house and becomes efficient. If you're just putting it down the basement,
I'd run it every day. If it doesn't make it back to the charging port, because sometimes they can get lost.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make it back to the charging port, it's okay. I'll pick it up and take it to the charging port at night and empty it out. And it's not like I have to. It's okay. Right. It's one of those kinds of things. But with a cat and a litter box down here, it'd be kind of nice to have that working all the time. Just to, at 9 o'clock, it can go out and do its thing from 9 to noon. Nobody's here except the cat. It'd be kind of funny to see if the cat would attack it. So I don't know. And that was another thing. I was going to buy one tonight. Actually, I had it on the list, and I'm like, okay, I'm buying one. And then I ended up having to work late, so I didn't get by. But definitely thinking about a Roomba.
So my buddy just got one, and he lives in Kansas City, and he was up here in Omaha the weekend right after he got it. My friend was monitoring this thing like it was a pet that he had left home. He kept checking. He's like, "Oh, honey, I think she got lost. She hasn't checked in a long time. She hasn't been back to her base, and I think she got lost. Man, the house isn't going to be clean when we get home because it got lost. It's going to be out of battery. Maybe we could call our neighbors and they could go put it back on this. Like it was like they had got a new dog that they had left home or something. It was hilarious. But I'm the same way. You get that new technology, and it just kind of But I thought it was hilarious because you're right. It got lost. They got home when it hadn't done anything because it got lost like the first day they had left town, and they're out of town for like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. So you're kind of hoping like it's, you put it on a schedule and every morning at 9, it's going to pop out and vacuum and then go back. And you don't really need it to vacuum that much. I have been watching a lot of video reviews on them, and they do quite well. I mean, they pick up quite a bit of stuff. And, it's not a deep clean, but that's okay. And, down here in the basement, it'd be nice to, with their cat, it'd be nice for it to just roll around down here and do some cleaning. So
there's this new trend, Jim. I don't know if you've noticed, but everything we've been talking about has been, even when you think of like ride sharing, you think of smart cars and how they're going to be fully autonomous. We think of Roombas, we think of Ecobees and Nests. All these things, we are, as a society, we're becoming very enamored with getting things done during a time frame that usually that time was not a time where you could do anything, right? So we leave the house. Usually nothing happens in the house while we're gone. Now we have robots that can be cleaning while we're gone. We come home to a clean house, right? Ecobee. I know they've had scheduling thermostats for a long time, but a very smart, easy way to my house, my AC does not run when I am not home automatically because those sensors, they just know they haven't sensed motion. No use running that air conditioner. Fully autonomous cars. We've talked about how or ride sharing where I don't use my car every day, cars sit vacant. Well, someone else could use my car and pay me to use my car at the same time. All these things have started. We've talked about the lawnmower, same thing as the Roomba, right? At nighttime, you can't mow your lawn because it's dark out. Actually, with a robot lawnmower, you can, and you can also be sleeping at the same time. I can be sleeping, vacuuming my house, and mowing the lawn all at the same time. Like that's never been possible before with all this stuff. So it's really cool. We're becoming very efficient with our time, and all these things have taken time that's otherwise, devoted to one task or doing one thing. We go to work, we can only work. Well, now we can mow the lawn, vacuum. Someone can be paying us to use our car, and we can be working at the same time. Super efficient. We've never been able to do this before.
No. Yeah, no, right on. What's amazing is I'm thinking more and more about how to do that. So instead of, as soon as I buy something, I'm like, okay, how can I maximize its use?
Yes.
What else can I run on this? I get a new computer. I'm like, okay, what could I be running on this while I'm not using it? How could I be, taking advantage of it while I have it? So
like guys like you and me love the Boink network, right? Where it uses our computer for resources and contributes to research. Like guys like you and me love that.
Yeah. No, right on. I did find, I had the right, just real quick, I had the wrong map I put in the chat room. So let me block this thing for a second. If you go to plugshare.com, we were looking for charging stations. And the one I had found and put in the chat room earlier was a Tesla specific one. If you go to plugshare.com, you will get a better view of what's available for you. And I see the one down there in Maryville. In fact, Maryville has 2, Mike. 3. Holy crap. What's going on here? They have 2 on campus and 1 at the Walmart.
Wow.
Dang. Well, you got to have it on campus.
Yeah.
That's like, if you ever want to get anything that way, just go to the college campus. They'll have it for sure. You said get to St. Louis. Well, actually a little bit of that is kind of true. The next station, once you leave Omaha, the next station is Stewart, Iowa, which is quite a ways. I don't know if it's more than 400 miles. I don't think it is. You might be able to get out of Omaha.
So you could make it, but think if you weren't starting from Omaha, think if you're starting from Lincoln or something, you really have to plan out your stops.
You do.
And stop. And even if you don't do a full charge stop, do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. You can't just get in, cars with gas. You don't have to think about it. You're going to find a gas station before you run out of gas. But
right on.
Real quick, back to the thing we were just talking about with time. It goes back to, we've talked about this, the study that was done, they gave people a bunch of money and they said, this half, spend it on things, go buy something material. half of you go buy a service that frees up your time. And the people that bought service that's freed up their time were a lot happier in the end. So essentially, we should be a lot happier of a society because, we are having these technologies that give us back time to do other things. When you get home and you don't have to vacuum anymore, that might be a big, that's a time suck for some people who vacuum all the time. The next thing is going to be laundry, right? When laundry is automated, when these things start to give you back time that you can now spend with your family, you could work more, you could do something with more with your career, you could do a hobby. Ideally, this is making us a happier society. Ideally. So I think it's super cool just because we're becoming so efficient.
Do you think it's working? Are we happier because we have
more
time?
I don't think we know yet because, not many people have these. Yeah. When you start to get them all, right? Like when I have the mower, the Roomba, some of these other items that are going to start freeing up time. Yeah, I think it would.
No, I'll still probably vacuum. Yeah. Like, the Roomba is going to save me maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes of vacuuming a week. What it'll be is cleaner more often as opposed to me waiting once a week.
True.
It'll be clean. It'll be clean all the time.
But these are, like I said, so they haven't gotten to that point yet. Yeah. Right. We still need to see the iterations. I mean, we're just now getting the first Roomba that has a base station that has a tank reservoir so it can empty itself and go out again. Right. So we're just getting to that. So we're obviously way far off from these things being able to sense throw up from the kid and not, drag it all across the carpet. And,
Yeah.
You've heard those horror stories.
No, we have a ways to go. And price wise too, grand's a little much.
That's the other thing, right? Only a very select few people are able to afford these.
Yeah. A grand is a little much.
And if you can afford, and most people can only, if you can afford one, you can only afford one. Like pick, like you either get the lawnmower that's fully, electric, or you get the Roomba, something like that. You're not buying them all.
Speaking of saving time, I've been talking about how I've been kind of gaming the Microsoft point reward system that's out there. So if you head out to Microsoft.com and log in, and you have points, and you can search for things, and you can, if you do mobile searches, you get points, and at 29,000 points, you get a free Xbox Gold pass. Right, we're $60, right? Let's write $60. So, I mean, not a little bit of money, but okay, And I've been working for the last couple months. I download a little program called Micro Recorder that I recorded. I did some screen recording of me opening a browser, and then doing a random search that pulls up random words, and then copying one of those random words, then putting it into the browser and searching for it. That counts as a search, right? And you need to do, 50 of these things to max out the points. So I just set the recorder at 50 and I just run it, and it runs on my Surface. I thought that was appropriate to, game the system on a Surface Pro.
Yeah.
And every night I come home, I check my points. It takes me 5 minutes. I check my points. I answer the questions. They have little quizzes that you can take. They're kind of fun. I've actually learned a bunch of stuff through the quizzes. So I take 2 or 3 quizzes, and then I let this thing run, and I max out my points. Yesterday, I log in. That capability is gone. I can no longer get points for search. And I was wondering, maybe they're on to me. I wonder if they're watching for accounts that are maxing out every single day. I maxed out every single day for a month. And
they're like, what are the odds of this person actually maxing out search every day?
Actually did it. Yeah. And so it just disappeared. I haven't done any work into it. So if you're listening and maybe you're more in depth into the Microsoft reward system than I am. I'm at 22,000, Mike. In 3 months, I've gotten 22,000 points. Technically, I think in a 4-month period, I could earn that gold pass for a year for free. And I could do that in 4 more months. I could get another one. I could tack that on. They allow you to do with gold with that system. They allow you to
you can plug as many of them in.
Yeah, stack them up for 5 minutes work a day. But that's one of those things. Again, letting this computer, right? I just hit play, and it just rolls through those searches. So if you know more than me, maybe maybe once I reached a certain points.
That's what I was wondering. I wonder if they allow you to only get a certain balance from
and then they take
one
it away.
way of doing it. Not take it away, but so now you need to get the rest of your points from something else.
Maybe somebody knows more than me. I think maybe they're on to me. So let me know, Jim@theaverageguy.tv. I don't know. I'll do a little digging on my own, but I'd love to, if you have a way of, if you're into that as well, let me know. Usually at work, let's just be honest, for those of you who are working at corporate offices, you don't get cool equipment. Nobody says, hey, I got this really cool technology thing at work. it's a crappy phone or it's some kind of, it's just an average monitor. I'll be honest with you. You know, it gets the job done, right? The businesses are not about paying for big, expensive, fancy things in a lot of cases. It's more about function and cost. Well, Mike, yesterday, I'll throw this link in the chat room, the Amazon link. Yesterday, 2 days ago, I was talking and they're like, "Hey, we got some new monitors in, and they're pretty cool." And I was like, "Well, I'll take one." I'm like, "Well, we don't have time to deliver them now." And I'm like, "I'll just do it. I'm a PC support guy. I'll put mine in." Okay, come grab the box and the asset tag, and it's yours. And they wrote down the serial number, and I carried this big old. It's a Dell. It's a P3418HW. Means nothing, but it's a 34-inch curved monitor. Like, yeah, and the resolution on it's fantastic, and I can do 2 screens side by side. And not just, on a 24-inch monitor, you get screens side by side. They're a little crunched down. A little bit.
Yep.
No, not crunched down. Really, really nice. Very good looking, very functional. It's actually got it's a little bit bigger for my eyes, which they're not getting any better. So kind of nice to have. And it's my first curve screen.
I was just going to ask you, this is your first curved, and is it worth is the hype real on those?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. Yeah, no, I like the screen a lot. I have found myself popping up. I use Windows arrow keys really quick, whatever I want up. And I have found it a little better to have those windows really close to each other, just on the same screen. I had a single monitor before. I have a double monitor here. I actually have 4 monitors down here, but I really like it. It's on Amazon right now, $509. It's been as cheap as $479. 2 monitors, 2 24s today are going to run you about that, maybe a little less, but then it's got a single stand and you don't have to worry about, throwing I've got one of these mounts that puts them together. I don't know, Mike, I like it. This was one of those cool. I'm like, God, good job, Gallup. Nice work. Yeah. Yeah, and they're starting to go through and we're replacing all our dual monitors with it. We must have got a pretty good deal on them, just to be honest with you, from Dell, to get them at that and man, from an employee standpoint, it looks absolutely sharp on somebody's desk, and so super cool. So I'm now in the world of a curved monitor. It's kind of cool. You don't get to say that often. Like, typically I get just pretty much standard equipment, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. Gallup takes care of us very, very well as far as what we get. But this was one of the very first office products I got where I was like, dang, this thing is cool. And then my next thought was like, I need a docking station now for my laptop, a USB based.
How are you doing it before?
No, just plugging everything in the back and in the sides. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
that's a mess.
It is. HDMI, a couple USB, power. Would really be nice just to have a docking station that had 1 USB and 1 power, and I'm in. Right?
Do you have USB-C on there?
I don't. No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, just USB. So in the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/the average guy, if you join us over there, I threw out a question to the group. I said, hey, what are your recommended docking stations that are out there? Actually, Schoonover dropped a really, really nice $50 too. Really, really nice. And let me pull this up really quick. He had recommended to me a Wavelink USB HD display series over at Newegg. Normally this price can't be right. $219, that can't be right, but it's crossed out and it says $52.99. Woohoo! Yeah, I don't know, Mike. $50 for
that seems really affordable actually for the docks. I was going to suggest, so at work everyone has a docking station, so but we have a mix between USB Type-C, so that's what my docking station is. But the other attorney has just a USB one, and the Dell branded USB ones aren't bad. They're actually pretty good. I don't know how expensive they are, but the Dell branded ones. The only thing is, you obviously when you do USB, then you have to also run power, so that's 2 cords instead of 1. But I think someone else left a comment. I don't know who it was, but I totally agree. I miss the old school docking style. You had that cutout on the bottom of your computer. You snapped it in. It was solid. It did everything for you. It always worked. It was reliable. The one thing I've gotten it to work pretty well, but with the USB and USB Type-C docks, they just they're not as reliable. Like those old docks, I had, you just snap them in, they're good, that they're going to work. The USB ones can sometimes give you screen issues. You might have some flickering sometimes. Sometimes my right monitor will just go off and on, and have to reboot my computer again. But the Dell ones are pretty good too.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna look into it. I kind of like this wavelength. It may be, one again. Yeah, I got a power strip behind it, so it would eliminate. I could plug some things in. The monitor actually has 4 USB 3 ports in it, and I could almost use the monitor like a docking station. The one difference is I'd still bring an HDMI over. I'm still bringing HDMI and plugging it into the back of the laptop. So it's 3 instead of 2. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this has got your Ethernet. It's got everything you need.
Yeah. So
doesn't have any audio in and out.
I don't.
speakers.
It would come via HDMI.
Okay.
So So if you're in the chat room right now, you got any suggestions? Throw those in the chat. I'm kind of looking. If you're on the Facebook group, that is open. By the way, Kevin Schoonover, while we're talking about Kevin, dropped in a deal for a new. This is why you got to get these things quick for EVGA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. Those are just $130 right now. So again, if you were shut out by the miners in this, there are deals you want to watch for them. That actually sold out pretty quick on Woot, and now the Supernova 650 G3 80 plus, the power supply still out there. Those are the ones I think that are 750. Is that the one? No, this is a 650. This is a model under the one I got, $60. So the links are for them out there, and pretty cheap shipping if you're thinking about it. Also, one more thing in the Facebook group, I want to recognize Tim Black. He was listening to the podcast last week.
$signs.
Yeah, and got on the Drobo bandwagon. Tim is the original Drobo $signs guy, and actually at a meetup a long time ago got me a $sign necklace, which was cool. Big $sign. So Tim, thanks for doing that, and it's good.
The kids call that bling, Jim. You had a lot of bling.
Yeah. Bling. Sorry.
Yeah, you were blinging. I don't know what they say.
I think that's what they used to say. You have to realize you're frozen in time in your generation, Mike. You know that, right? Everything you think you know now is not what the kids think anymore.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not a kid anymore, Jim. I don't know when that happened. Probably when I had my first kid.
Yeah. Joe's asking me what kind of laptop. It's just a standard Dell. Pretty basic, pretty standard Dell laptop. So USB 3, pretty much HDMI out. It's nothing special. Really good. It's been very durable for me. But that, and then Ryan says that PSU that we were talking about just a second ago. He says, great. So you want to check out those deals, head out to facebook.com/group/the-average-guy. That gets you there. Oh, one more thing. Tim picked up a Black Friday weekend deal on a Western Digital NVMe drive, 500 gig, $99. We've been talking about this for a long time. This is the winter, well, or summer, depending where you live. Sorry, Australians. This is the season. Let's call it that. This is the season for drives. Like if you're not replacing, if you have a slow spinner, or you're struggling with anything on your network right now because of a hard drive, you're stupid for not replacing it right now. Okay, so get out there. You get that done. Mike, one more thing before I go. I got the opportunity to hang out with Vint Cerf on Monday, which was super cool. Vint is just the most gracious. He might be the smartest, most gracious person I've ever met. He is the real deal. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Vint Cerf is one of the fathers of the internet back in UCLA, 1976, turning that on for ARPANET and for the Department of Defense. DARPA kind of initially funded the internet and put that together back in the 70s. We took advantage of it in the 90s after DNS. Did you know DNS was just started in 1991? Isn't that crazy?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So those, www.
Yeah.
Put the name in. That's 1991. That's kind of crazy. I didn't know that.
So before that, they were just memorizing IP addresses?
Yeah. Well, it was contractors, right? It was government. It was the government. Like they didn't. True. It was different. It was a defense system. But Vint is I got a picture posted in the Facebook group, and Vince is the greatest guy. It's a privilege to know him. I picked him up at the airport when he was coming in and came through the door, and he's like, "Hey, friendly face," and it's just it's pretty cool to have that kind of relationship.
Such a cool.
with him.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what a cool
Yeah.
relationship to have.
Yeah. No, it's super great. So it's a real privilege and an honor to be able to do that for Gallup. And I was kind of spent most of the morning with him and turned him over some teams in the afternoon, and then took him back to the airport and got to put him on a plane to off to his next place. But he is quite amazing, and I learned something new every time that I meet with him. He spent some time talking about the ethics of IoT, which is really, really cool. Yeah, no, it was very, very interesting. So he came and spoke on that as well as some other pieces. Did a section on crypto. We'll talk a little bit about in the post show on the crypto show. Mike, anything else you want to throw in?
No, I think we ran through it all.
Did we nail it?
We nailed it.
How do we do, chat room? Do we do okay? I feel like I labored to get through that, but do we do okay, chat room? We all right out there? You guys still doing okay? There's still a few of you left out there. We will remind everyone we're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. If you want to send us a note, if you want to join the Fitbit Facebook group, no, it's not really true. If you want to join the Fitbit group, even if you want to join the Facebook group, I could do that as well. But if you want to join that, it's growing. We'd love to have you in there and actually have a group on on Fitbit now to do that. Darn it. Email me, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. If you got any, like Anthony did today. Anthony, by the way, he's still out there. Thanks for coming out, Anthony. I appreciate that. Thanks for giving up your lunch to be out here. I'm glad we could read your email. Thanks for doing that. If you want to send in some pictures, whatever, if maybe snap a few pictures this afternoon and send them to me, Jim at theaverageguy.tv, and I'll include those
too.
Yeah. Post them on the Facebook group. We'll include those in the show notes if you've got pictures of setup or equipment or whatever. We'd love to have that kind of stuff. If you're willing to share those with us, we'd love to have that. So Anthony, thanks. You could do that too. Send me a note. If you got stuff that you want to send in, we'll read it on the show. We'll talk about it. Mike, I booked Paul Braren. So he's coming back in beginning of the year. I think the very first podcast of 2019, I'll say 2019. Paul Braren will be back. He's done all kinds of interesting things. And so he'll be back. And then I reached out to Addie. She's been on here before. Addie Salcido. She's been on here. She goes, I got some new gear. So I was like, cool.
Nice. Okay.
Jump in. So I think the 20th of December she's in. So we got some great stuff coming up. Make sure you're coming out and joining us live. If you want to join the Patreon group, it's theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. That gets there. I'm kind of all slumped over. I'm just all relaxed. Like I'm finishing the show. What the hell? I might fall asleep. I might fall asleep by the time I'm done. Super great. You can join us on Patreon, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. Let's see. Oh, don't forget, subscribe, rate, review, all those great things. Super helpful if you subscribe on YouTube. That's always good for our YouTube numbers that are over there. Hopefully sometimes, and we showed some pictures here today, head over to the YouTube channel if you want to see those and get it done as well. Don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And Christian will have him back on Cyber Frontiers, talk about some of the awesome work he's doing at Amazon. Visit maplegrovepartners.com. Don't forget about the app. You can download that, homegadgetgeeks.com. Mike, my daughter's coming home. We just ordered HelloFresh for her time here. We went from 2 people to 4 people. God, it's so easy, dude. Why doesn't everybody do this?
I didn't know if you were going to get it in this show. I was wondering. I was like, he hasn't mentioned it. He hasn't said anything about it. I knew you'd get it in somehow, though. You were
so great. So great.
You're more of a fanboy of HelloFresh than I was of Apple back in the day. Like,
I know.
You are a fanboy hard. You're crushing on HelloFresh.
I am all in. Like we have a binder with all the recipes.
Does Sarah know about this? Does Sarah?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, she knows.
It's gotten to that level. I don't know, Jim.
Oh my God. It was just so, we just had it. We had like a Korean bowl last night, and it's just so delicious. I just like it's one of those things where like she had peeled up some cucumbers and pickled them. And then nice. we done carrots, and then I cooked some I did some meat with some I forget the name of the sauce, and rice. We done some jasmine rice, and we just put it in a bowl. We kind of mix it together. We had a little crema on there. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is so good. Like, why isn't everybody doing this? Like, this is so good. Doesn't work for everybody. Many of the listeners have families, and it's harder to do that way. But man, if you're like me or whatever, you need just a couple meals a week where you just don't want to think. It has really expanded. And so we sat down with we've been keeping them in a binder, and so the recipes. And so we're like, hey, what could we make that we've already had while Tim and Sam are home? My son's coming home, and so we're starting to think through what could we just buy and have and make. And it's just kind of opened up our palate, so to speak, from mac and cheese and hot dogs and burgers. Don't get me wrong; those are good.
Well, it's different than a normal cookbook because you've been through it once before that was made easy for you, right? Like they shipped you everything you needed. So a cookbook is kind of daunting because you haven't done any of those before. You now have essentially a cookbook of things you have done, and you've done it before. You know it was good. It's worth it.
Big idiot pictures, like anybody can do this. Like if I can do it, although I do screw it up. I do screw it up from time to time. Sarah's like, "What step are you on?" I'm like, sorry, I was drinking too much beer it's too much wine while I was cooking. More wine in the meat, less wine in my mouth. So
right,
super good. I've got a bunch of coupons. If you want those, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. I'll send it to you. Give it a try. Again, I'm not doing this. It's super great, and I'd love for you to join me in that as well. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Stay around for some post show. You guys did that last week, and I appreciate it. We got a little bit farther. Mike and I, quick update on crypto, so it'll go super fast tonight. We'll be back next week. With that, we'll say goodnight.